You are sitting at a campsite right now, or you will be soon, and there are 4 bars of cellular signal on your phone that you are not using. Because 2 months ago, somebody talked you into a satellite dish. You paid around $200 for the little Starlink Mini. You signed up for the plan at $165 a month, and you told yourself this was the price of freedom. And here you are, parked at a campground with perfectly good coverage, running your whole life through a dish pointed at the sky, paying satellite money for internet that the phone in your pocket could have delivered for free. Here is the open secret in this category. The company that sells that dish will tell you it gives you internet anywhere, and that is true. But the people who do this for a living, the mobile internet specialists who test every one of these options for a job, will tell you something the marketing never will. Most RV owners do not need it. Not because it is bad, because it is aimed at a problem most of you do not actually have, and you are paying every month for a gap in coverage you cross maybe a handful of nights a year. That word coverage is going to come back a lot. Hold on to it. This channel is on the buyer's side, so let me be straight about the stakes. If you have ever bought the dish, or you are about to, and some quiet part of you wondered whether you actually needed it, stay to the end. Because one of the 5 ways to get online in this video does what that expensive dish does in the places you actually camp for a fraction of the money. And one of them is the single most misunderstood product in the entire category, sold to thousands of people who will never get what they think they are buying. Let me show you all 5 and exactly who each one is really for. To understand why this category confuses people, you have to know how fast it changed. Not long ago, internet in an RV meant one of 2 miserable options. You could crawl toward the campground office hoping their free Wi-Fi reached your site, which it never did, or you could hold your phone up to the window praying for a second bar. Working from the road was a fantasy. Streaming was out of the question. The whole category was defined by scarcity. 2 things broke that open. The first was the carriers. Over the last several years, Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile poured money into their networks, and 5G coverage spread across highways, towns, and the vast majority of established campgrounds. The dead zones did not vanish, but they shrank hard, and a huge share of the places Americans actually park and RV now have real usable cellular. The second thing was Starlink. When SpaceX opened up its roam plans, it did something genuinely new. For the first time, you could get real broadband speeds in the middle of a national forest. And that was not marketing. That was real. It rewired what people believed was possible. But it also rewired what people believed was necessary. And that is where the trouble started. Starlink became the default answer to a question most buyers never stopped to ask. And in 2026, the company leaned into it, dropping the Mini hardware to around $200 for new customers and restructuring the roam plans, making it easier than ever to sign up for a service far bigger than your actual life on the road requires. Around the same time, a quieter market matured right beside it. Dedicated cellular routers from names like Netgear and Peplink turned a raw phone signal into a proper home network. External antennas learned to pull in towers a phone could never reach. And multi-carrier data plans appeared that let a single device roam across Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile to grab whichever one was strongest at each stop. None of that got the headlines the dish did, and that is a large part of why people overbuy. This is the exact spot where the trade and the buyer part ways. A first-time buyer sees one product that works everywhere and buys it out of fear of being stuck offline. The mobile internet professionals see the same map the buyer does, and they see something else. They see how much of it is already covered, and they watch people pay a premium every month to solve for the small slice that is not. To make sense of that gap, you have to understand the 2 numbers that actually decide what internet you need, and almost nobody calculates either one before they buy. The first number is coverage overlap. Not coverage in the abstract, but the overlap between a carrier's map and the specific places you personally camp. Here is the thing the dish sellers never say out loud. Cellular does not just tie you, it often beats satellite in the exact places RV owners spend most of their nights. Under trees, in a wooded state park, tucked between buildings in a town, satellite struggles because a dish needs a clear view of the sky and loses its mind when a pine branch gets in the way. Cellular does not care about the sky. And for uploads, sending a big work file or video call, cellular is frequently much faster than satellite. The professionals are blunt about this. Their advice is to default to cellular when you arrive somewhere and reach for the dish only when cellular is not there. There is one more twist hiding in the plans themselves. The word unlimited on a cellular plan is rarely honest. Nearly every unlimited plan quietly deprioritizes your data after a monthly threshold, which means once you cross it, your speed can drop sharply the moment a tower gets busy. So a plan is never just its price. It is its price, its real high-speed ceiling, and how hard it throttles you afterward. That is part of coverage too. The coverage you can actually use rather than the coverage printed on the box. The second number is your real data appetite in gigabytes, and this is the one that quietly decides everything. Most people have no idea what theirs is. So here is a way to find it. 1 hour of video calls burns roughly half a gig to a gig and a half depending on quality. A remote worker doing 20 hours of video meetings a week is looking at somewhere between 40 and 120 gigabytes a month before a single Netflix episode. If your honest number is small, a weekend of email and maps, you are a completely different buyer than a full-timer running Zoom all day, and you should not buy the same equipment. That gigabyte figure is the measuring stick for everything that follows. Every option below gets judged on one question. Does it deliver the data you actually use in the places you actually go? And what does it cost you over a year to get it? Let me start with the one that costs you nothing extra because you already own it. The phone in your pocket is a hotspot. Every modern plan from the big three carriers includes some amount of hotspot data, and for a huge number of campers, weekenders, seasonal travelers, anyone who mostly camps where there is coverage, that is genuinely the whole answer. You turn it on, you tether your laptop, you are working. No new hardware, no second bill, nothing to install. Measured against a Starlink setup that runs you over $2,000 in its first year, the phone you already pay for is an almost unfair comparison. For a lot of you, the honest truth is that you could stop this video here. The catch is real though, and it is physical. A phone was not built to be a router. Run it hard as a hotspot and it heats up, it throttles itself to cool down, and your battery drains fast. And your plan's hotspot allowance is usually capped, after which your speed falls off a cliff. And the fine print matters more than the headline. Most plans that advertise unlimited data still cap the hotspot portion at a set number of high-speed gigabytes, after which tethering slows to a crawl, even while your phone itself keeps running fast. A phone hotspot is not one fixed thing. It is only ever as good as the specific hotspot allowance buried in your plan. So it works, but it works like a tool being used for a job it was not designed for. The professionals will tell you that if you lean on your connection every day, a hotspot on a carrier different from your phone is smarter because it gives you a second network to fall back on, and it takes the strain off your phone. If a straight side-by-side like that just saved you a couple $1,000s, subscribing is how you get the next one before you buy the wrong thing. Which brings us to the tool built for the job the phone is faking. The Netgear Nighthawk M6, the model MR6150, is a dedicated cellular router. As of August 2026, the unlocked version runs around $400, with carrier-locked versions closer to $300. It reviews well, sitting around 4.2 out of 5 in independent testing. It carries Wi-Fi 6, handles up to 32 devices, and the part that matters for an RV, it has external antenna ports. So you can bolt a proper antenna to your roof and pull in a tower a phone would miss. That antenna port is the entire point for an RV. Bolt an omnidirectional roof antenna to the roof, and the M6 will hold a usable connection at the ragged edge of coverage where a bare phone simply drops out. Drop in a data SIM or a multi-carrier plan, and it becomes the hub the whole rig runs on, every device on board sharing one solid connection. Here is how it sits against the benchmark. Against the Starlink Mini, it is a fraction of the first year cost, and in every place cellular reaches, which is most places, it does the same job with less power and a faster upload. What owners consistently report is worth hearing clearly. The device is not the bottleneck. Real-world speed comes down to your carrier's coverage and how congested the tower is, not the router. The trade agrees and adds a note. For most people, the M6 is the right serious pick, and only heavy prosumers need to step up to the M6 Pro, the MR6550, which runs close to $1,000 and adds multi-carrier and millimeter wave reach most RV owners will never touch. The catch on the M6 is the same catch cellular always has. No signal, no internet, and paying full unlocked price stings when a locked unit costs $100 less. Now, the single most misunderstood product in this entire category, and the one that solves the complaint you hear at every campground. You have a bar or two of signal, and it is useless. Enter the cellular booster. The WeBoost Drive Reach RV, in its current second generation version, is the model most RV owners land on. As of August 2026, it sits in the roughly $500 class with no monthly fee ever and a 50 decibel maximum gain that grabs a weak distant tower signal and rebroadcasts it strong enough to use throughout the rig. Installation is genuinely simple. An exterior antenna on the roof, an interior antenna inside, and the amplifier between them. A job measured in minutes rather than hours. The current second generation kit upgraded both antennas and the cabling and added 5 mounting positions, which matters when your roof is already crowded with a vent and maybe a dish. And because it strengthens the signal in both directions, it also helps hold you on a far-off tower instead of dropping the connection as you would otherwise. And here is the catch, spoken as plainly as I can, because the listing will not tell you, and thousands of people buy this without understanding it. A booster cannot create signal. It can only amplify signal that is already there. If you are in a true dead zone with 0 bars, a booster does exactly nothing because there is nothing to boost. It is not a source of internet, it is an amplifier for a source you already have. The trade is clear-eyed about this. Technicians will tell you that where you have a marginal 1 or 2 bars, a good booster genuinely turns unusable into usable, and that is worth a lot. But they set expectations, because a booster judged as a way to get online in the wilderness will always disappoint. Owners split exactly along that line. The ones with marginal signal rave. The ones who took it into a real dead zone in the empty stretches of Texas got nothing and said so. Buy it to rescue a weak signal, never to conjure one. Which finally brings us to the dish everyone came here to talk about. Starlink on a roam plan, usually the Mini. As of August 2026, the Mini hardware is around $200 for new customers, up to $250 otherwise, and the plans are 200 gigabytes worth of choices. The entry roam plan is around $50 a month for 100 gigabytes, after which your speed throttles hard, and the unlimited plan is $165 to $175 a month. You can pause it in the months you are not traveling, which matters for part-timers. 2 things do not make the sales page. On the entry plan, once you burn through your 100 gigabytes, your speed does not just dip. It falls to around 1 megabit, fine for email and maps and useless for anything else until the next billing cycle resets. And the dish needs a clear view of the sky to behave, so heavy rain, dense tree cover, or a ridge on the wrong side of you can all degrade it, sometimes badly, in the wooded parks where cellular would have been steady. Let me be completely fair to it, because it earns real praise. In a genuine dead zone, on public land, deep in a national forest, out where cellular simply is not, Starlink is not the best option, it is the only option, and getting 50 megabits in the middle of nowhere is a small miracle. This is the benchmark every other product in this video is measured against for a reason. It works where nothing else does. And this is exactly where the thesis of the whole video lands. Set the Starlink Unlimited path over $2,000 in year one against the cellular router path of $400 net gear plus a data plan you may already have. For the buyer who camps mostly in covered places, that extra money does not buy better everyday internet. Under trees, it buys worse internet. On uploads, it buys slower internet. What it genuinely buys is coverage in the dead zones. And the question you have to answer honestly is how many nights a year you actually spend in one. If the answer is most of them, if you are a full-timer chasing solitude on public land, or a remote worker who cannot afford to be offline, the dish earns every dollar, and the pros will tell you the same. A February 2026 survey found mobile Starlink use shifting from vacationers toward professionals, people who genuinely need it to work. If that is you, buy it without guilt. If it is not, you are paying full price for insurance against a risk you rarely run. And the last way is the cheapest of all, for the person who just wants to use what is already there. The Alpha Wi-Fi Camp Pro 2 in its version 2 kit is a campground Wi-Fi extender, around $130 as of August 2026. It uses an external antenna to grab a distant public Wi-Fi signal, the campgrounds or marinas, and rebroadcast it as your own little network inside the rig. When there is decent Wi-Fi you cannot quite reach, it reaches it. The mobile internet specialists file it under basic and affordable, and that is fair. But the catch is the whole story with this one. And an owner said it better than any spec sheet. It does not increase bandwidth. It only helps you access what is there. If the campground's internet is slow because 40 other rigs are hammering one saturated connection, this device cannot fix that. It can only get you a clearer seat on the same overloaded bus. A Wi-Fi Ranger technician made the technical point that its 10 decibel gain is modest next to the 50 decibels a cellular booster puts out. So treat it as a cheap supplement for the rare good campground Wi-Fi, never as your main way online. The kit itself tells you what it is: an outdoor receiver on a pole, a small indoor router, and a length of cable between them. That is camping gear, not infrastructure, and priced accordingly. Line the 5 up and a pattern appears, and it is not a ranking. There is no single winner here because they are not really competing for the same job. The phone covers the casual camper. The router covers the serious cellular user. The booster rescues a weak signal but cannot make one. The dish conquers the true dead zone at a premium. The extender sips whatever free Wi-Fi exists. Which one is right for you is decided entirely by two things we already named: where you camp and how much data you actually use. Which is the thing even informed buyers get wrong, and it is the reason so many overpay. They go looking for the one device that does everything, and they buy the dish because on paper it comes closest. But the people who live on the road and test this for a living almost never run one thing. They run a stack. They default to cellular because it is cheaper, faster on uploads, and works under the trees where they actually park. And they keep Starlink in reserve for the nights the map goes empty. Some go a step further and bond the two together with a router built for it. So a shaky satellite link under a tree and a weak cellular signal combine into one connection stronger than either alone. You do not need to go that far. But the principle holds for everyone. The more ways you have to get online, the fewer nights you spend fighting too. Redundancy, not a single silver bullet, is the real answer, and it reframes the whole Starlink question. You are not overpaying for the dish because the dish is bad. You are overpaying because you bought it to be your everyday driver when its real job is backup. The tool you reach for in the dead zone, not the one you run every night at a campground with 4 bars of signal. There's a hidden cost buried in that everyday driver mistake too, and it lands hardest on the people who bought the dish for off-grid freedom. Starlink is power hungry. The standard hardware pulls something like 45 to 60 watts continuously, plus its router, and out on a small battery bank. Running it all day is a real drain on the exact off-grid setup that made you want it in the first place. Cellular gear sips power by comparison. So the dish you bought to be free of the grid quietly ties you back to your batteries. The overlooked truth of this category is that the best internet is not the one that works everywhere. It is the one that matches where you actually are. So come back to that campsite from the start, the one with 4 bars you were not using. The question was never which of these is the best internet, because that question has no answer. The question is what covers where you actually go and carries the data you actually use at a price that fits how you actually camp. Coverage, the word we started with, does not mean coverage everywhere. It means coverage where you are. And once you measure it that way, the dish stops being the obvious default and becomes 1-2 among 5. Brilliant for some of you, and a $2,000 mistake for the rest. Before you spend $1, do 2 things. Pull up your own carrier's coverage map and lay it over the actual campgrounds on your next few trips, and add up your real monthly data in gigabytes. Do that and you will know before you buy anything whether you need the dish at all or whether the answer was in your pocket the whole time. Next time we get into the box that quietly runs your whole electrical system and the way the cheap ones cook your batteries, RV converters and chargers, and what the price actually buys.